Hi guys, I'm Dos and welcome to the DBG channel. As I covered in a Happy New Year message, stroke greeting, one of the things that I wanted to do is a bit of a nostalgic video. The festive season always makes us think of times past and maybe people who aren't with us anymore, and I'm certainly no exception on this one. As I mentioned, I wanted to do a little bit of a ramble down memory lane with my dad's Relum Tornado, which I have here. Some of you may remember we did a little bit of a resto on this. I think it was last year at some point. I don't think I did any. I did a YouTube thing when we had another one in stock as well, I believe. I had a Relum Super Tornado in stock, I think, and we just did a sort of side by side, but there was no shooting content or anything like that. So a little bit about this gun and why it's important to me. It's a Relum Tornado in 2.2. My father bought it from a gun shop in Wembley, I think, in the late 70s. It's lost in time how much he paid for it. Not a lot in those days. I would have thought probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 quid, something like that. It was second hand then, and the previous owner had already refinished the stock and done quite a nice job of it. When I restored it, I didn't have to do anything to the stock at all. As these came out of the Hungarian factory where they were built, they were most of them were like a kind of a really pale colour, a bit like the colour of Karamak bars, if you remember them. I think they're still available, but they don't taste anything like they used to. I had a couple last year, very disappointed. They're also tiny. So the stock on this had been previously refinished by a past owner, and they've done a nice job of it. My dad gave me this in 1982, I think, something like that, and for probably 2 or 3 years it was the only gun that I used. I had my first gun prior to that was an ASI Sniper. Hands up if you remember them. Great little guns, very accurate, not a lot of power. So this was Sniper was a junior gun. This is a full size gun, and even to this day, that stock is a really chunky monkey. They're a proper handful. As I said, I was given this in 1982, and I used it extensively in those days, as I'm sure most of you who were fortunate enough to grow up in the late 70s and early 80s remember. Childhood was very different to what we have now, and I grew up in a relatively rural area as well. So me and my mates used to roam around with air rifles and pistols, and all sorts of stuff that these days would have a SWAT team down on you, or you'd be just taken out. I remember quite clearly we used to pop tin cans on like street signs. You know, you got like I don't know, Hawthorne Road, little street sign like that. We used to put tin cans on top of those and just shoot them. Nobody minded. We don't think we ever did any terrible damage or anything like that, and we had a great deal of fun. A little bit further into my childhood, I ended up with a shooting permission on a local farm, and we used to go up there and shoot a lot. And certainly for the first couple of years of that, the Relum Tornado was my main gun. I did what all people, or all youngsters certainly, and quite a few grown-ups who really should have known better, did in those days, pulled it apart and shoehorned a god-awful square section ox mainspring in there to desperately try and eke a bit more power out of it. We didn't have chronographs or anything in those days, so we just tended to gauge how much power it was making by how vicious the recoil felt. It didn't seem to trouble us too much that as the power stroke vicious recoil increased, accuracy did a runner. It was all about big bangs and making it feel fantastic. Did all sorts of damage to it with the ox mainspring. It ended up sort of ovalizing the hole at the back of the cylinder. The loading tap started leaking. And ultimately, it was replaced by better things It got tucked away at the back of a cupboard. Various house moves as I got into my sort of teens and adulthood followed, and at some stage it got left in a mate's caravan, and he lives miles out in the sticks, and it wasn't, let's say, it wasn't a modern caravan, so it's not exactly ideal storage in terms of stable temperatures, moisture, etc., etc. He contacted me about 10 years ago and said he was just getting rid of the caravan, had been sorting through it, and found my old gun in there. Did I want it? So I thought, I couldn't even remember which gun it was. So I went over and had a look, saw it was my old Relum, saw the awful state it was in, but couldn't, really, it was scrap. I couldn't really bear myself to part with it though. So it's got sentimental memories. So I packaged it up with the intention to do something with it one day. It got wrapped up in something slightly more damp proof and stored under the bed, and there it stayed until last year. In the interim time, unfortunately my father had passed away, and when I rediscovered this on another house move, I decided it would be the right thing to do would be to restore it. So we did a full strip down. It's got all standard internals, new loading tap, leather piston washer. I haven't put the concentric mainsprings in because they make a horrible noise. So it's running a slightly shortened BSA Air Sporter spring with a floating spring guide, and it is running at around about 8.5 to 9 foot-pounds with RWS Superdome, which is actually pretty healthy for an old Relum Tornado, and it's not shooting terrible groups. I don't use it a great deal, I must say. I've got it here at DBG, and it's on display, and I hadn't actually shot it for about 6 months when I decided I was going to do this video. So followers of our Facebook page will know I had a bit of a practice with it last week just to make sure it was working okay, and it's actually working not too bad. So I think without further ado, if we make our way over to the firing point, I will grab a very quick film of the gun firing, and then I'll pop the camera down at the target, and then we can do a speeded up edited 10 shots. I've only got the one camera today, so I can't do them both at the same time, unfortunately. So apologies for that, but hopefully bear with us, and we'll see what the old girl can do. All right. Right, here we go. So, Relum Tornado 2.2. Manufacture date late 1960s, obviously spring piston, under lever, loading tap, loading. We're shooting at 15 yards, 10 shot group with RW Superdomes, and then probably have a couple of knockdown target. Let's see how we get on. The funny thing, muscle memory and all that type of thing, yeah, I must have shot tens of thousands of shots through this when I was a child, teenager, and as soon as I pick it up, it just feels right. So I shot so much, spent so long shooting this that it must be hardwired into my mind that that's the default of what gun feels like. Although these were quite agricultural, quite basic, the actual stock dimensions are, apart from the short forend, that would be my only criticism. Because they're nice and deep and chunky and really sort of man-sized, they do just feel really good. And in the shoulder, with a cut out, nice, reasonably raised cheek piece, it feels surprisingly modern. Trigger's not fantastic, you won't be surprised to hear. But as you can hear, it shoots really smoothly. It's smooth to load. Nice precise little loading tap. Drop the old pellet in. Line up another one. Lovely. Okay, I'm going to pop the camera down to the other end, and we'll have 10 shots at the target, and see if we can put a half reasonable group together. Well, that wasn't a bad little group, was it, really, to be fair? So I'm quite pleased with that. It seems to like the RWS Superdomes. A couple of little flyers on there, but that's more my eyes and lack of recent familiarity with the rifle, I think. Although, having said that, when I restored it, I did shine a light down the bore, and it's quite hard to discern any rifling. I really did literally just shoot the rifling out of it, I think, when I was a kid. With the Relum Tornadoes, quite a few of you will probably have similar nostalgic memories. I remember throughout childhood they were available through club books like Freeman's and stuff like that. So plenty of youngsters ended up with them because mum or dad could pay for them on the Never Never, and they could end up with something a little bit decent for Christmas that they might not otherwise have been able to afford. Seems a bit bizarre now, doesn't it? Imagine being able to buy air guns out of the Argos catalogue or something like that. But it was perfectly, it was acceptable in the 80s, should we say. If this has whetted your appetite for a similar sort of experience, maybe you were somebody who had a Relum Tornado or something similar when you were a child, you'll be glad to know that because they were made in quite numbers and sold very well, there are still quite a lot about on the second-hand market. Although, having said that, they don't turn up in huge numbers or not necessarily all that often, but they do still appear from time to time. Having said that, this one of mine is very definitely not for sale. Having done the work on it and with the sort of emotional attachment I have to this rifle, this is staying with me. It's definitely a keeper. That being said, if you are in the market for a Relum Tornado, looky. Look what we've got here. We do have one in stock. It's a slightly older model, doesn't have the telescopic sight rails. It's got standard open sights. The metalwork is a bit patinated but not pitted. The stock is in a really nice condition, and it comes with an improvised sling, and the previous owner has put a little US Army type ammo pouch on the stock, which actually suits it quite nicely. If you are interested in having a chat about buying this, then please do get in touch. If you want more details, what's the phrase I'm looking for? A link to the advert, that's it. A link to the sales listing is in the description below. So please have a look at that. And if you're interested, get in touch and we'll be quite happy to sort you out with one of these beautiful old Hungarian workhorse air rifles. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. If you have memories of Relums or had one as a kid or anything like that, please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all the usual. And if you guys out there in viewerland enjoyed that or enjoy this type of content, I can probably find quite a few more things to rattle on about from childhood, different types of air guns, etc, etc. So again, if anyone's got any suggestions, comments, please get involved. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, and we'll see you again soon.